to, let's see. Okay, to advance it, you just push this.
That little thing right there?
Oh, wait, no, current, okay, wait. Just there.
Oh, okay, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay, go sit down, please. And you need to find the other one. Oh, he's on the floor. Hello, we're going to get started now. So I believe most of y'all know me. I'm Walt Hannabass. This is Beth Hannabass. And we're going to talk a little about COPE tonight. And let's see. Yeah, so, well, we keep getting There we go. Yeah, so if you don't know where we are, we're at 810-12 South Main Street. So you just go down here to the corner, go right about a block and a half, and you're there. The history of COPE, it's founded in 1983, so we're just a little over 40 years. And it was founded by a group of Robertson County churches. COPE is short for what you see there, Cooperative Outreach for Personal Emergencies. I've always thought that our name, it was kind of like they came up with the acronym first and then tried to find some things to fit it. Because nobody ever knows this, and there's obviously a reason for it. Although, truthfully, the word emergencies, the E is pretty important, as we'll talk about, because our mission is to sell stuff and then turn around and use the money to help people with utility bills and with rent and some mortgage payments and a few other things. Sometimes medications, sometimes gasoline to get them to work or get them to the hospital or wherever they need to go. Our business model, what we do, if you've never been there, we sell, we call it lightly used clothing and books and housewares and things like that. Furniture, we take furniture, but it's got to be something that our volunteers can handle. If you go in, you see what our volunteers, the average, well, let's put it the way, it usually starts at about 60. And it's about 80, probably 95% ladies. And so, but we make it work. I've been making it work over 40 years. Everything that we have in the store is stuff that's been donated by the folks in town. And we're pretty proud of being the place when people want to donate stuff, we usually come to the top of the list. We are 100% volunteer. As far as I know, we have never paid anybody to work at COPE. I've been writing the checks for, I guess, the last 14 or 15 years. I know I've never written a check to somebody to work, and we're very proud of that. If you've been in there, you also know we operate in a pretty much of a bare bones environment. We try to keep the expenses down. We've got a great rental arrangement with somebody who's a member of this church who's taking care of us. We didn't originally start on South Main, but we've been down there since the mid to late 90s. So we've been in that location for probably most people in here, that's probably where they've always thought of us being. Governance, we also take this pretty seriously. You know, sometimes nonprofits start up and there's not real clear direction, but we operate under bylaws. We have to file with the state of Tennessee, just like we should. We have to get file an annual report, and we have to get our charitable solicitation permit. We have a board of directors. We meet every month. We review the financials, and so we're pretty, you know, we pretty much have it the process buttoned up. One of the things that we're required to do is our chairperson is a pastor in the county. It's been the pastor of this church before. Right now, it is Charlene Sullivan, who is the pastor over at War Trace. Probably a lot of y'all know. I mean, Charlene's been here at this church before and preached to us before, filling in for Jason before. But we do reporting. So if you ever want to know how we report through United Way. And if you're familiar with givingmatters.com, which is something that's supported by the Community Foundation Middle Tennessee, We do reporting there, so you can really see our financial results and things like that. Our funding, store sales remain our single largest source of funding. And it's totaled in the last, we only have records, we started using QuickBooks 19 years ago, and so I've got pretty good records for about the second half of our history. But we've raised through the store sales $1.4 million. And that's about 57% of our funding of what we do. That's the majority of where we get it. If you look like in 2025, it was more like 68%. So store sales have always been important, but they're increasingly important. Donations also, we also get donations from churches, $710,000 over the last 19 years. And then we get grants from different places, primarily United Way is obviously the biggest part of that at $214,000. So how we do business, this is what we do. We have, if you come to us for assistance, and this is where the E comes in, the E of emergencies. Our mission is to help people who are having emergencies. In reality, we have some people who come to us and their life is an emergency. So we see them all the time. One of our rules is, if we help you, we don't expect to see you for another 12 months. But what we consider somebody as a new person is somebody who hasn't gotten assistance from us in the past 5 years. And so but because of the way people, the way a lot of people in our community live in terms of people who are on fixed incomes, people who are disabled, people who have various kind of issues, they live, like I said, in pretty much a constant state of what we would consider emergency. So we're happy if half the people we help are really people who fit what you would think of an emergency in terms of they just lost their job or they had a home fire, something like that. That's about half of the people we help. But everybody who we help has a real need. When they come to us, we don't just they don't just walk in and we hand them stuff. We have an application process that we go through. And they have to complete a budget. They have to provide supporting documentation. So one of the things we're doing is not just giving them money. We're also trying to do some coaching. And if you look at our interviewers, and we've got one of them in here, but we got a number of, matter of fact, almost all of our interviewers come from this church. And they're all our lead person for the interviewers is Kathy Hayes, who y'all know. And she used to work for the Social Security Administration, so she's got a great background. And so I think we do real value added when we interview folks. And we also only do it if you got to come in. You can't just call up and say, hey, I need money and do it. You actually got to come in. We got to see you. Because sometimes we assess folks and figure out they got needs greater than what they're telling us. And sometimes it's not financial. And so we do counseling and get people to other places if we can help them that way. Partners. This is not a complete list of partners, but y'all are going to recognize matter of fact, at least there's three of them here that you're going to be hearing about in the next few weeks. And I want to give you some examples. When we partner with other agencies, I want to give you some examples of how we do that. We have caps on how much we will do for folks based on what our financial resources are. That's one thing we're also very proud of is we've never run out of money. And one of the reasons we do that is because we manage our money. So if we have more, we can do more, but we watch it pretty carefully. And, pretty much since COVID, we've had a lot of inflation, and pretty much of a double whammy. You've got higher rents, but you also have higher utility costs. And so we have to occasionally partner with, and one example I'd give you is working with Mid-Cumberland. Mid-Cumberland kind of does what we do, except they're state managed and federally funded. And so we will often partner with them on one client. And if we can't do it, we do it and they get them to do it, we get Mid-Cumberland to chip in. And then we really like it when our clients can also contribute part of the cost themselves because they got skin in the game. So they're somebody we work with a lot on utilities. New Chapel Men's Club, which is something that actually we meet over at New Chapel United Methodist, but at least a third of our members, including Mr. Beck, a third of our members actually come from this church. But what we do in that organization, we want to help people, and with the money we raise, but we don't have a good way of finding folks to help. So at least 80% of the people we help come through COPE. In other words, if one of the interviewers need more money that's beyond our caps, we've given money to people in the past 12 months, but we find somebody who really needs help, we'll call up the men's club. My father's house. My father's house is something that we originally was housed under COPE for a couple of years before it spun off and is doing its own thing. But one of the issues they had is they have people who need clothing, but they don't have a place to keep it. And so what we have worked out is an arrangement where if people want to donate clothing to the shelter, they have some of it there, but they can also encourage them to bring it over and make a donation to COPE. We turn around, and then if we get a voucher from Steve over at the shelter telling us we got somebody coming in who needs some clothing, in that case, we'll just give them the clothing. We don't sell it, but within certain limitations, we will also work with them. So it works well when we do it that way. The last example I'd give you is ARC of Davidson County. One thing we don't want to do is we don't want to throw stuff out. So if we can't sell it, what we will do is we will have ARC come by, and they pick it up, and they take it to Nashville, and they package it up and are able to distribute it to other, in other ways. So everything in other words, we don't throw much out. We trash out back, but a lot of it is not clothing because it goes on to somebody else in another community where they can make use of it. So let's talk a little bit about our results. Since 2006, we have given out $2.1 million in assistance, $1.3 million of it for utility assistance. Probably we have we provide utility assistance, and the way we work it to make sure the money gets to where it's supposed to go, we don't give money to people and tell them to go pay the utility bill. We pay the utility bill. And so more than half that money goes to Springfield Department of Energy, Utilities over here. The other big one is Cumberland Electric. But I would say there's at least 20 different either a water department or in Greenbrier or Olinda or White House. Some go, believe it or not, we have people in the county who also get their electric from NES. And of course, we'll also pay for gas for United Petroleum and so any form of utility we'll pay, and we've paid out, as you can see, we've paid out a lot. We have $790,000 for rent assistance. That is made up of a combination. By far the biggest one there is Springfield Housing, but we also pay out a fair amount to some of the larger apartment complexes you see here in Springfield and in White House. We've had a pretty good relationship with Springfield Inn. We've paid out probably in the last 5 years, we've paid out more than $50,000 to Springfield Inn for folks who are in a situation where they really don't have a long-term rent or can't get it. Because we have a problem in this county getting good rentals for people who don't have a lot of money. We've made some progress in that area, but we've got a ways to go. But half the money, we have a lot of people in this community, including some members of our church, who just have rental properties, residential houses and stuff that they rent out. And about half of the money we put to rent assistance go to people in the county who have rental properties. One thing down here that I'm also very proud of, if you look over the 19-year history of where we have our numbers for, 87% of all the dollars that we spend go out to client assistance. And that's something that's real important when you evaluate nonprofits, how much of the money that they take in to actually get to the people you're trying to help. This year, or excuse me, in 2025, that was 92%. So we do that by not having any payroll. And we do it by having a pretty simple business where, you know, we have some utilities, but we don't have a real big facility that we have to, like the upstairs where we store all our stuff. For those of us who have done changeover, we know that when we do that in the winter, it's kind of cold up there, and when we do the fall, when we get to the end of the summer, it's kind of hot up there. So, but that's because we don't pay for the utilities for that kind of stuff. Store sales in 2025 were the second highest they've ever been. We're really close to what we did in 2023. We took a dip in 2024, but we really did. We had about a 4 to 5% rebound in 2025. So that's been great because we got during COVID, a lot of nonprofits in this town got money in grants from the state and the federal government. And a lot of that money has dried up. We basically, what we got, we kind of banked it, figuring it was going to go away. And so we've been able to use it. This is one thing that's helped us defer some of the issues our clients have had with higher utility costs and higher rents. But it's also why it's real important as that's come down. We've also had donations pick up, which is real important. And I mentioned that our goal for new first-time people is like 50% for who get assistance, and we did 44% in 2025, so we feel that's pretty good. All right, so Beth, I'm going to let you come up and take over the next few part.
And we're almost out of time, so I'm going to make it quick. Hi. I'm Beth. I'm his wife. I'm the one that got him going in Cope. So, yeah. The person who recruited me in the parking lot by the post office was Jan Schendel 18 years ago. So, been at Cope a long time. Springfield First United Methodist Church is a very big part of Cope. They've donated more to Cope financially than any one church in the county. Provide more volunteers at this point to Cope, and that changes. Volunteers come and go, but there's a lot of us there. And then we have the golf tournament in late April, early May, and the Amen Open, and that has donated a lot of money to Cope as well. Volunteer opportunities. We have a lot of need for volunteers, and the average age of our volunteers, we haven't officially done that, but it's older than me. I'm one of the young ones. So that's kind of telling you something there. And so people have issues, you know, they have health issues. We can always use volunteers. We need people who will interview. Donna is one of our interviewers. Mona Sutherland has just trained in to be one of our interviewers. Kathy Hayes is one of our interviewers. Yeah, the Oldhams. We need cashiers to be in the store selling the stuff because, well, Linda Lang was one of our good cashiers, you know, and Sharon and me and, gosh, who else? I think for the cashiers, that's it. But, yeah, we are out in the store all the time. Stockroom workers, those are the ladies who work in the back, and it's a lot of work, and it's physically a lot of work, but we can definitely use people to do that. And then seasonal restocking, and I know that our youth group has been very instrumental in doing a lot of the special seasonal restocking, and that's been very helpful. But there's just a lot of things, and it's a lot of hands-on stuff to be done. So if you're interested in learning more about volunteer opportunities, just contact Jan, and she can she'll get your name. We don't always need somebody, you know, like every day. Most of us volunteer 1 day a week. Some people volunteer twice a month, you know. Some people just do the seasonal thing. So there's ways to fit people in around their schedules. Donations. If you want to donate things, just come to the store when we're open, which is Saturday, 10 o'clock until 2:45 in the afternoon, and that just gives us time to get the doors shut. It's always a good idea if you have a lot of stuff to call first, because our sorting area is about the size, or our holding area is about the size of 2 of those 8-foot tables put together, and it fills up really fast. So we want to, and people will bring us a truckload, a pickup truckload. And so one pickup truckload is filling that space, and we hate to turn people away, because we'll go through that pretty quickly. Volume, when, Walt was talking about the amount of money that is spent in that store, I can tell you from cashiering for 18 years, I'm selling a pair of socks for 50 cents. I mean, a t-shirt is $3. The volume is huge of what goes out the door. I mean, it's very big. So we have to have a good volume coming in. Walt's given instructions. You can, if you want to support COPE financially, just either give it to him or to Jan, or just mail it to the P.O. box. That is also helpful. I want to go just a little bit before the time is up. In terms of supporting COPE by shopping at the store, thrifting has become like a big thing, especially, and I've just noticed from all of our clients, our customers, we have a bunch of different categories of customers. One is our traditional customers, where people who don't have a lot of money are coming in looking for a good deal and to be able to get clothes. And that's always going to be important, and we're happy to do that. Another customer that we have are resellers. That's like a huge industry in the U.S. now. People will go, they'll glean through thrift stores, they will find higher-end merchandise, they'll pay the $2 or $3 we charge for it, post it on eBay or any one of a billion different resale shops, and make money from that. They make their living doing that, and that's fine with us. I mean, it's work. They're engaged in work. So that's just fine with us. We also have people who, we're always joking about seeing our stuff in our store and it's going to be in the antique mall next week. Because that's what happens, And that's okay too. Because if we priced it at an antique mall price, it's going to sit in our store far too long. We want it to move out. We'll get some money for it. Then they'll have an opportunity to get some money for it. Another big client group that has started coming in are young people who either like the vintage clothes, or they're doing things with the vintage clothes, like cutting the sleeves off one thing and putting them on another, and they're designing their own clothes and making their own fashion statement and line of clothing with all of these odds and ends and bits and pieces of thrift store clothes. Thrifting is there's a whole subgroup of people who are really involved in thrifting. And that's kind of cool too. It's fun to talk to them and to see them come in. So as a cashier, one of the things that to me is a great advantage is just getting to meet people, and talk to people. And I have regulars and people that I have seen every Thursday for 18 years, and that's great. And I love them, and I always make sure I know their name after I've seen them 2 or 3 times. It's like, who are you? What's your name? There are sometimes, and this is just working with the public, you have situations and people that you're kind of happy when they leave. I mean, but that's any place, not specifically at COPE. Most people who come in, though, they're just there because they want to, they have various wants, but a lot of them just want to support us. We have customers who will come every week, and they don't spend a ton of money, but they come and they look and they'll buy a few things, and they want to support the mission, and that's how they do it. So all of those things are great. That being said, 90% of my wardrobe is from COPE because I like the idea of not spending a ton of money, and I also have gotten to the point now where I like things that, I like to buy a t-shirt and know that it's already been shrunk in a particular way, and that it's not going to be twisted around my body the first time I wash it, those kinds of things. So it's really fun for me to be able to shop there. Trying to think if there's anything else I can tell you about it. I guess what I can say is that we work really hard to keep a clean store and keep it nice. We welcome extra help when we can get it. And I really, try to go in and see what we've got. You'd be amazed at the things that you can find in that place, and the things that people will donate to us. It's pretty nice. So, any questions? Yeah, Norma.
Like say, you're putting up Christmas decorations and you don't want to keep some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Would you, is it your all's recommendation to keep that till next fall and then bring it to you, or do you have a place for it?
So we do have a storage area for it. The one caveat that I will say is, this is especially with Christmas things, it's as Walt pointed out, it's not heated and it's not air conditioned. And there are some things that will not tolerate being not air conditioned in our summer. The glue melts and the things come apart. So in that case, depending on where you store your stuff, like if you store your stuff in your attic, it's broken in, right? So just, yeah, you can bring it and we'll sort it, we'll send it upstairs and then bring it down when it's time for Christmas next year. Yep. Yeah, Sandy.
Several years ago, I brought a bunch of things to Coke, and I wanted to have a receipt for tax purposes, and I asked about that, and I was given a form to fill out, and what I did, I had a piece of paper with everything listed that I had given, and I just attached it to that form, so people need to know that that option is available if they want a receipt for it.
Very good point. Yeah, in terms of if you want to use it, have a tax receipt. Basically, ours is extremely simple. You know, we'll just say, write down, that you're not going to put dollar values on it, just write down like 3 bags full of women's clothes, and that's fine with us. But if you want to have it for your tax purposes, you would inventory like Sandy does, and you could even go to like goodwill.com, and they'll tell you the average price for a t-shirt, for a pair of, you know, pants, that kind of thing. And you can itemize in that way as well. But that would be your own personal records. But yeah, that's definitely an option.
Well, then some of the tax rules change that you don't get as much break.
Well, yeah, you can still do the deduction, but yeah, the standard, it's now so that most people, the standard deduction is, in other words, yes, it's still valuable, but if for most people, the standard deduction is going to be the best they're going to get. Yeah. But if you go over, if you do need, if it turns out itemization is best, then you want to have that information so you can have the donation category included on your schedule.
Yeah, geez.
Say you know somebody who needs assistance. I know in the past, I used to make the appointments.
Yeah.
Do they still do that? Like on a certain day, they make an appointment, and then they come back for the interview?
Tuesday morning, 10 a.m.
Tuesdays when they make the appointment?
Yep.
And then they get scheduled for Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, the only requirement is that they have to be a Robertson County resident, and they also do have to have a Social Security number. But that's just written into our bylaws.
One thing I have always appreciated about Hope is your documentation.
Yeah.
And just giving some, what am I trying to say? Keeping up with it where, just like you say, come back next year instead of this year. To me, how Cope is done took a whole lot of off the church office, where we would get hit up so much. It gives, we can always return there, and I felt like that's part of the reason we budget for Cope.
Yeah, I would also say, if Jason, if you ever have anybody who shows up here and wants help, if you want to know if there's more to it, don't hesitate to call Cove and talk to the interviewers. I can tell you right now, you probably already know the interviewer. And we can tell you if we ever came on the person.
Sure. And we have a similar process here as it comes to distributing benevolence. We have, statutes of limitations as to how often we'll help with certain types of asks and those sorts of things. But one of the questions we always ask is, where else have you been to seek assistance? Have you been to Cope? Have you been to United Ministries? Have you been to other churches? Whatever the case may be. So it's helpful to know that we can just call directly and get that. And it's not because we're trying not to help someone.
Right, but you want to help them more efficiently or more effectively.
Exactly. We want to make sure that our resources are stretched as far as they can be, you know. So that's helpful to know.
Well, I think that was one of the main goals when they originated the COPE, where the people in the churches were very frustrated because it was very hard to be able to tell in the situation, like how many churches had they been to, were they really being helped with what they needed help with, you know, all of those kinds of things that can become an issue or a question that you really want to be effective, you know, and you could be effective, but with the interview process and with keeping the records, and then with actually having a fair amount of money to offer them, you know, rather than $20 here and $20 there, and yeah. Anything else? I work Thursdays if you want to come shop. I'll be there tomorrow. Yeah, and Don, okay. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. You what? I'll be next door. Okay, United Ministries. Good enough. Oh, and just real quick before you. So these are my grandsons, Wesley and Matthew, and they are with us because we're all awaiting the birth of their baby brother. So if you all want to say a prayer for Hillary. Yeah.
It's an exciting time. Let's give a thank offering to Walt and Beth. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious at this point that many of us had at least heard of COPE, but many of us have also participated in some way, shape, or form in supporting the ministry. But for the benefit of those who had not heard of COPE or didn't know what the acronym stood for, or perhaps weren't aware of some of the financial implications, some of those numbers you shared, well, were kind of mind-blowing to me, honestly. And so it's a pretty big operation with far-reaching implications. I'm grateful for the existence of COPE in our community. Just one of a handful of ministries we're going to be hearing about over the next several weeks. Next Wednesday, we're going to be hearing about Laundry Love and the good work that they do. In a couple weeks' time, we'll be learning about My Father's House, which, again, many of us are aware of and even volunteer with My Father's House, but it's going to be good to learn a little bit more and go a little bit deeper into My Father's House and what they do and how they help. And then finally, 3 weeks from now, we'll be learning about Open Door Pregnancy Center, which is also a wonderful organization in our community. We have a table in the back where Gabby is with some snacks. If you'd like to pick up snacks, anything that you give, the proceeds will go to children's ministry. And there's a little table over in the corner if you'd like to just drop in any sort of love offering for COPE. Anything you put in the basket tonight will go to COPE. And so, again, very appreciative of Beth and Walt sharing about COPE. Look forward to seeing you next week as we continue learning how we can be good neighbors in our community, opening our hearts and hands as we be the church. Let's have a word of prayer. God, we thank you for every opportunity that you do give to us to be the church. And over the next few weeks, as we do seek to partner with these community agencies and ministries, learning about why they exist and what they do, we pray that you would stir in us a greater awareness of how we can put ourselves to participating in their ministries and also seeking out other opportunities in Springfield, Robertson County, and beyond to open our hearts and our hands. Help us always to seek first your kingdom and to serve with the heart and with the mind of Christ. So send us forth now with your blessing to be your servants and to love in this world. All this we offer in Christ's name. Amen. All right, you all have a good evening. We'll see you next time.